Good evening, I'm Emily Flores.
And I'm Glenn Mills. Thanks so much for joining us tonight.
Yes, we're following breaking news out of Salt Lake City after reports of an officer-involved shooting. Here's
what we know. It happened at 965 South Main Street in Salt Lake City shortly after 5 this evening. ABC4's Nicole Newman live on the scene right now, tracking down the very latest details for us tonight. What can you tell us, Nicole?
Hi, Glenn and Emily. Well, this is actually all unfolding just off of Main and Fayette Ave. This is on the side of the Monson Engineering building. We're still waiting to be briefed, but what we can tell you is that there are vehicles here and police officers from both West Valley and Salt Lake City. There's also a fire truck and an ambulance. A short while ago, I did go over to speak to one of the officers to see if we could gather more information. We were told that someone would be here to brief us shortly. That hasn't happened yet. So again, we are still waiting for the latest, and we'll bring that to you when it's available on air and online. But again, this is unfolding on Main and Fayette Ave on the side of the Monson Engineering building. Reporting live in Salt Lake City, Nicole Newman, ABC4 News.
All right, thank you for your coverage, Nicole. Well, developing this evening, COVID-19 testing here in Utah is slated to get a makeover starting September 1st. That's when the state's current contracts are set to expire, and that means new companies are administering and processing the tests. ABC4 News investigator Jason Wynn joining us live in studio. And Jason, you found out who the state awarded those new contracts.
Yeah, following several hiccups and problems with the testing and test results around the Test Utah initiative, it appears that the state decided to go in a new direction. These 6 contracts show that state officials decided to go out of state for some help. Now, this will be who is conducting the COVID-19 test in our state. NOMI Health is the only contract from the original Test Utah contracts that appear to still be in place. They will be taking the COVID-19 samples with NEWSCAST. Processing the COVID-19 lab tests will be ARUP, Flugent Therapeutics, and LabCorp, and also Premier Medical Laboratories. Now, 2 companies that appear to be no longer with the Test Utah project are Utah's Code Diagnostics, which designed that COVID-19 test that the Test Utah program relied on, and Timpanogos Regional Hospital Laboratory, who is currently under a federal audit.
We selected a handful of vendors from both of those 2 arenas and have made the decision that we'll move forward with NOMI Health to operate the sample collection side of things, and they will be partnering with a lab called Flugent Therapeutics out of Los Angeles for their sample processing.
Now, I reached out to Timpanogos Regional Lab, who provided me this statement. We're extremely proud of the Test Utah initiative, and it continues to accomplish, and are appreciative of all those who have stepped up in time of great need for our community. The skilled team at Timpanogos Regional Hospital Lab has worked around the clock to provide accurate, timely COVID-19 test results to tens of thousands across the state. Now, NOMI Health, they also gave us a statement on Timpanogos Lab. Test Utah testing sites are operating as normal during this process. We thank the team at Timpanogos and Mountain Star for all their incredible work during the peak of the pandemic when Utahns needed it the most. Now, we don't know why these 2 medical companies who started the Test Utah program were dropped. What I do know is the final federal CLIA lab audit, which basically certifies labs to process tests like COVID-19. That's due any day now. And depending on what that says, Timpanogos may lose their federal certification and be fined. We're going to have much more on these contracts and everything that's happening tonight at 10. I'm Jason Wynn, ABC4 News.
All right, thank you, Jason. Well, now to the latest numbers in our coronavirus coverage. Statewide, 50,557 people have tested positive for COVID-19. This includes today's 383 cases. Our rolling 7-day average for positive tests now stands at 366 per day. In Utah, 120 people are currently hospitalized with COVID-19. 2 more Utahns have died from the virus, both men from Salt Lake County, bringing our death toll to 403 people.
Provo Mayor Michelle Kaufusi has vetoed a citywide mask mandate ordinance the City Council unanimously approved Tuesday night. The council could vote to override that veto in a special meeting tonight. Mayor Kaufusi, who wears a face covering while promoting the city's Mask Up Provo initiative, issued the veto just this afternoon. Now the council needs just a simple 4-3 majority vote to override it.
Meanwhile, we're just beginning to see the extent of the devastation following the most intense storm Louisiana and the Gulf Coast of eastern Texas have seen in decades.
Hurricane Laura made landfall last night as a very strong Category 4 storm with winds in excess of 150 miles per hour. Parts of Texas and Louisiana are now seeing widespread destruction from the storm that was the strongest windstorm to strike Louisiana in 164 years. Now, this is video of Lake Charles, Louisiana, one of the cities that took a nearly direct hit from the monster storm. Laura leaving trees down, ripping off roofs, flooding neighborhoods, destroying businesses, and leaving hundreds of thousands without power. Meanwhile, officials issuing a shelter-in-place order for West Lake, Louisiana, after a massive fire broke out at a chemical plant there, sending billows of smoke into the atmosphere you see right there and shutting down nearby Interstate 10, even threatening nearby structures. The fire, we're told, started as the result of a chlorine leak at the plant. Meanwhile, the governor of Louisiana says even though the storm has moved inland, communities are not out of the woods yet.
I will tell you that the damage is extensive. We know that the wind speed was as promised in the forecast. It hit as a Category 4 to 150 mile an hour winds. Right now, we believe we got a break on the storm surge. It appears to have been about half of what was forecasted, but I will tell you, we still have a southerly flow and water is still coming into Cameron and Vermilion parishes. And so we're not out of the woods there yet either.
Right now, the Cajun Navy, whose Hummers can handle up to 6 feet of water, assisting with rescue operations. Good Samaritans also doing what they can to help neighbors in hard-hit areas.
Meanwhile, Utahns being deployed to do what they can to help with the recovery effort. Right now, the local Red Cross has half a dozen volunteers deployed with more on the way and on standby. Some responders had their flights delayed while Hurricane Laura was preparing to make landfall.
The first flight out that I could get was yesterday, and I was 10 minutes past 6 in the morning. I got a call. I was going out the door to go to the airport, and they canceled all the flights into Houston.
Well, Tom Hauser is set to leave in the morning, and once he arrives in Houston, he says he'll be helping evacuees to find shelter.
And as we just heard, Laura now inland, making her way up other parts of the country.
Yeah, Chief Meteorologist Alana Brophy joining us with a look at the conditions. Hey, Alana.
Hi, guys. We take that live look at Nashville, Tennessee tonight, which is now Tropical Storm Laura impacting the Tennessee and Ohio valleys as we speak. So we watch this storm really move in the last 5 days, came through the Caribbean into the Gulf where it intensified in the last 48 hours, made that landfall in Cameron, and we watched as that storm continued to push to the north. Now, it impacted Little Rock, Shreveport, you name it. And at this point, that will become a tropical depression and continue to weaken, but those rain bands still impacting places like St. Louis, moving into Atlanta. Little Rock now starting to get a break, and as you can see, Nashville dealing with it. Also down there near New Orleans, still dealing with a little bit of that wet weather. As we look at the track, we see it's going to go through Kentucky and turn into that low pressure system, but an increase in rainfall in those areas. Highest wind gust packed a punch, 132 mile per hour gust in Lake Charles. We also saw an 85 mile per hour gust in Alexandria. So Louisiana getting hit very hard by this storm system that is going down in the record books. It is now the second most intense hurricane to hit Louisiana. You look at those winds and they really tell the story. Hurricane Katrina came in as a 3. This was a 4 and could, upon reanalysis, be upgraded. So we keep our eye on that. Now, closer to home, we've got a major pattern shift headed our way. I'll break that down coming up in my full forecast. Glenn, Emily, back to you.
All right, thanks, Lana. In a span of 22 months, multiple semi and dump trucks have crashed into buildings in Garden City, causing concern for public safety. Local business shares their concerns with ABC4's Haley Hendrick. She's also looking more at the plans UDOT has to try to keep it from happening again.
As you come out of Logan Canyon and into the Bear Lake area, multiple signs warn of a steep decline. For failure to slow down, it's caused some trucks to nearly lose control or even crash. This concrete pumper truck that plowed into the side of the Lighthouse Landing gift shop Tuesday night is the 5th semi or dump crash in Garden City in nearly 2 years.
Look, we don't know why this hasn't happened before, but it's happening now and we need to address it.
As safety concerns heighten, crews with the Utah Department of Transportation are working to finish this runaway truck ramp by next month.
It's a cable system where a series of cables wraps around the truck that's using the escape ramp there, and it eventually brings the truck to a stop.
All 5 crashes have happened at the crossroad of US 89 and Bear Lake Boulevard that's here behind me. And where I'm standing is where Pugstone Sporting used to be until a semi-truck crashed into its building. Quick and Tasty is located next to where Pugstone Sporting was, and manager Mikkel Hunsaker says she fears her business could be hit at any time.
You know, it's just too many close calls and we're going to run out of luck soon.
Mikkel believes it's a blessing none of the crashes have killed anyone in the buildings or on the street.
Split second, I mean, they've all turned right in the past, but hey, who knows if they're going to turn left, and are we going to, you know, see the remains of another truck crash at our place.
Reporting in Garden City, Haley Hendricks, ABC4 News.
Thank you, Haley. We'll look outside before we head to break at the Salt Lake Valley. Alana working on what more you can expect coming up in your full forecast. Well, Utah National Guard is heading to California in response to the devastating wildfires still raging today. ABC4's Jared Giannini was there for their deployment and has more for us this evening.
Now, this deployment is in response to a request for aid from California. The Utah National Guard will deploy 2 Black Hawk helicopters and 9 soldiers. We're told their #1 task, drop water on the trouble spots.
So the crews that we have going right now are all very experienced air crews.
Inside one of these Utah National Guard Black Hawk helicopters taking off to California is Lieutenant Jeremy Tannehill. He's been fighting fires by air for more than 20 years. He's the officer in charge of this deployment.
Because we love our community, we love our neighbors, we love Utah, and we love our nation.
Lieutenant Tannehill and 8 other soldiers gearing up to join nearly 36 firefighters from Utah already in California, assisting in containment efforts. You see here soldiers packing up the helicopter with enough resources.
Toolkits, a lot of gear, water buckets.
To last throughout their 15-day deployment. These soldiers say fighting massive fires by air has its challenges.
Yeah, it's probably one of the most dangerous things that we do.
The pilots have to be kind of on top of their game. But then you think about the environment that we're working in. Flames, smoke, steep, rugged terrain, hot summer temperatures, high altitudes. All of those things factor into the performance of the aircraft, and it just makes it that much more risky.
The soldiers will land in Mather, California. That's just east of Sacramento. The soldiers will then undergo a 2-day training with CAL FIRE and then be placed into firefighting duty.
The big difference out there is going to be the volume of aircraft and just the sheer size of the fire.
Now, containing those wildfires in Northern California could improve air quality in Utah. Now, the overall tone of this deployment is the desire to serve and work hard. Jared Jatanini, ABC 4 News.
Now to the latest on wildfires burning here in Utah. The East Fork fire is in the high Uintas. It's still 9% contained, burning just over 2,700 acres. Firefighters spent the day reducing vegetation around facilities at Moon Lake as a precaution.
Time now for Utah's most accurate forecast. Weather rate certified 9 years in a row.
All right, let's switch gears and head over for a look at the forecast.
Chief Meteorologist Lana Brophy standing by with the latest for us.
Hi guys, increased fire danger today as we take that live look from Deer Valley. We see over the Uintas just a few clouds, but the Wasatch Mountains and the Uintas are two areas under a red flag warning until 8 o'clock tonight. We also see it in the West Desert, also down the I-15 corridor. We have some breezy conditions, the heat, and on top of that, dry relative humidity. Currently in Salt Lake, you see a little bit of haze, but the winds actually impacted us, gave us a break when it came to air quality. Temperature right now 91 degrees in Salt Lake with that wind speed at 15 miles per hour. So a little breezy out there. As we look at the wind gusts, we see higher numbers in Evanston, Milford, Cedar City, double digits in Logan as well as Salt Lake. So the breeze is out there, and of course we know if a fire started, it would spread very quickly. We also have very dry conditions. When was the last time we really got some rain? It's been a while. Our fire fuels are ready to burn, and whenever you see teens or single digits on this map, you know it's no good. Drought monitor out today. This is brand new, and you see from Utah County all the way down to Washington County, we've got extreme drought. Just under half of the state facing extreme drought conditions. Also expanded on the eastern border. Severe drought otherwise not good. And as we look back at the month of August, which is tracking to be the hottest on record, we only saw 2 days of measurable precipitation in Salt Lake City. Not good news there either. Very, very dry conditions and a few isolated storms as we watch our weather into tomorrow. Eastern Utah and the southern portion of the state, because we're going to see an uptick in moisture in southern Utah. The winds will be kicking around, so we know the breezy condition out there could produce that elevated fire risk, and our temperatures will be slightly cooler, closer to average, but then a major pattern shift is headed our way for the weekend, and that's going to change things around. Futurecast shows us the clouds as they track to the east getting into tonight. We get a weak front that comes through the northwest corner of the state, so some cooler temperatures out there. As we get into Friday, we see an uptick in the moisture, which means cloud cover and more isolated storms in southern Utah, and the winds kicking near Elko and Ely. Those southerly winds will be warm. On top of that, we head through Friday and into Saturday, and we see that those isolated storms stick around, even looking at a chance by the afternoon hours in central Utah as well as up north where we get a few more clouds. Sunday we get a big change as the front comes through. It's going to change things around and really drop those daytime highs. You'll feel that change. 80s and 90s into tomorrow. 93 in Salt Lake, triple digits in Moab, 103 in St. George. Here's a look at Washington County. Next couple of days we've got a steady decline in temperatures and an increase in clouds. The chance of an isolated storm really tied to the mountains, but it will be there. So eyes to the skies if you've got outdoor plans this weekend. Here's the Wasatch Front where the numbers will be closer to average. We have a slight chance of seeing an isolated storm Saturday and Sunday. Monday, that's when you know things have changed. Cooler air has moved in, only a high of 80, upper 70s by Tuesday. We back off of the extreme heat that has really plagued us throughout August. Glenn, over to you.
Yeah, I like the sound of that. Thanks so much. All right, turning to Wesley Ruff now, and we thought we'd be seeing Game 6, but not so much.
We'll have some highlights. Maybe the Jazz closing out the Nuggets.
Yeah.
Not happening. Another crazy day in the world of sports. Jazz playoff game didn't happen. And the owner of Real Salt Lake angers people all over the country with his remarks about his team not playing last night. Sports is coming up next.
Time now for ABC4 News Sports with Wesley Ruff.
The Utah Jazz and the Denver Nuggets were supposed to play Game 6 of their first-round playoff series today. That obviously did not happen. As for the second day in a row, NBA playoff games were postponed. But players from the 13 teams still in the bubble met with representatives from the league and the Players Union, and they voted to continue playing games, which could start as early as Saturday. If that's the case, the Jazz Nuggets Game 6 could take place on Sunday, but no official announcements have been made yet. Now, players from other sports, including Real Salt Lake, supported the NBA players by boycotting games. RSL was supposed to play its home opener of the MLS restart last night against LAFC. Both teams agreed not to play, hoping to raise awareness of Black Lives Matter movement and social injustice.
For me personally, I think it makes a very, very big statement. And yes, people will miss out on the entertainment, but at the end of the day, it's entertainment. There are other things going on which are essentially life or death, which should be a bigger part of any conversation that exists today, as opposed to maybe just missing out on an MLS game or an NBA game.
I know we made a very strong statement tonight, and I hope that brings along, more change. But this, as we know, over the last couple of months, is going to be a movement that lasts for quite a while until there's real change throughout our community.
But the community was rocked today when the owner of RSL, Deloy Hansen, went on radio station X96 and voiced his displeasure of his team not playing last night. He said, among other things, obviously there's a profound disappointment that the spirit that is Real was abandoned last night. The disrespect is profound to me personally. It has taken a lot of wind out of my sails. What effort I want to put into recruiting players and building a great team. It just seems that's not a very good path to take. Now, the reaction to his comments were swift and harsh. Many athletes, including some former RSL players and Utah Jazz guard Donovan Mitchell, were outraged by his comments and took to social media to voice their disgust. Hansen was on ESPN 700 this afternoon to offer an apology.
I apologize if, feeling pain for a group of people that had made a great sacrifice to put the game together and to attend the game. We're disappointed. I think that is secondary to the purpose of a societal change, and I get that. And I'm sorry that I didn't express that more thoroughly.
Now, right after Hansen was on, RSL player Nadim Onuoha was on with his reaction to his owner's statement.
He could have spoken to us, but instead he went out, and we were reading about how he felt about what we did the night before. And he was calling us wrong for what we did. We as players united in trying to use our voices to try and bring positive change. And we know we affected people, and we are sorry to those people who were affected, but it also affected us because we wanted to play. There's talk that we'll be fined for not playing and stuff like this. But when it comes down to social justice issues and so on, it's a price that the league has shown that they're more than willing to pay.
Well, one sport that's still going on is golf, and today marked the start of the second round of the playoffs on the PGA Tour. Utah's Tony Finau is right in the mix. Finau had 3 birdies today, along with 3 bogeys. He shot even par. He's now tied for 4th at Olympia Fields near Chicago. He needs to finish in the top 30 to advance to next week's Tour Championship. Tiger Woods needs a big finish this week to move on to next week, but he was 3 over par today, so he's got his work cut out for him. And the Provo Timpview football game, high school game scheduled for tomorrow, has been canceled. Several players and coaches from Provo High have the coronavirus.
All right, thank you so much, Wes. We appreciate it. Well, we do want to take another live look at the scene. We'll go out to the video. There we have it. The officer-involved shooting in Salt Lake City again. Our Nicole Newman was out there just earlier. We're giving you another live look of this ongoing situation.
This is right around 900 South and Main Street. We're going to stay on top of this for you, bring you the very latest tonight on ABC4 News at 9, on the CW, also right here on ABC4 News at 10. And we are always online. You can find the very latest there as well at abc4.com. And you can also keep up to date on the story and interact with us on Facebook and Twitter. Just log on and search ABC4 Utah.
All right. Thanks again for joining us here tonight. We will see you at 10 o'clock.